I want to bring in Matthew Horace. He was the special agent in charge of a national response team for the ATF. Matthew, this is the kind of incident, maybe not specifically this one, but somewhat similar, that it was your job to investigate at the ATF. What's the first thing that investigators are doing when they get to the scene of this kind of tragedy and here in the days since the fire?
Well, Brianna, as you know, their first priority is to try to secure this scene so that investigators can get into what we call the whole and begin the arduous process of cause and origin. We will use certified fire investigators. ATF has some of the very best in the world, and they will try to determine where that fire began, how it began. We'll use arson accelerant sniffing canines to try to evaluate the property to determine if an accelerant was introduced to the environment. We'll try to evaluate if it was electrical, if there were hazards that existed prior to the fire in the warehouse setting that might have helped to cause this fire and help to accelerate it.
I spoke yesterday with a councilman in Oakland who lives not far from this area, and also a woman who lived for several months at Ghost Ship, who talked about there being sparks from electrical cords and this kind of thing being a normal occurrence. Listen to what they said.
I expected it to be shut down a long time ago. I called the police 3 times myself. They escorted me out of that place when I was living there, so they were in there to escort me out. The police were there like every single week when I was there, more than one time in a week. I called them 3 times in 1 week myself. There were several police there that Derek and Micah all knew on first name. They were there on a regular basis, I called them, explained everything when I was leaving. The police weren't doing anything, housing, nobody was doing anything. CPS was in there all the time. Nobody did anything.
I live a block away, and certainly I have seen people living there. I will tell you, at the leadership role, the role that I currently play, that we are looking to putting the building inspectors together with the fire marshals as one unit, so they can inspect these facilities. They can be present on the weekends, weeknights, when weekend nights when they need to be there.
All of that exposure to the problems with this building and nothing done by authorities. What do you think is the reason for that?
We know, Brianna, we have 2 issues. We have the scene investigation, which we're going to do, but someone dropped the ball here as it relates to code enforcement. But keep in mind, investigators will go back and speak to all these witnesses to try to determine what they were seeing in the days and weeks and months leading up to the fire, because we're not going to discount anything. It may be accidental or it may be incendiary.
What would investigators need to find in order for there to be charges against these leaseholders of this building, because there is a criminal investigation at this point?
Well, there's 2 separate issues. There's the code enforcement issue and what the building was being used for and what it's supposed to be used for, but then there's this fire. What is the cause and origin of the fire? If investigators determine that it's arson, then they're going to go back to try to figure out what the motive was and who caused that arson. If not, it goes back to the owners. Someone dropped the ball on this as it relates to code enforcement.
Yeah, we will see. We do know that, according to witnesses, those owners had told people to keep it quiet, that there were people living there, so they certainly were aware they weren't supposed to be. All right, Matt Horace, we appreciate your expertise. Thank you. And